One of the knocks that you often hear used against the beat-em-up genre is that they're nothing more than button mashing simulators. You just tap, 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 tap until everybody's either knocked out or in a body bag. But in reality, unless you're talking about some of the earliest games in the genre, most brawlers are deeper and more involved than that. I say most because every so often a game like Death Tales comes along that embodies the bad stereotypes so thoroughly that you might just mistake it for parody. Unfortunately, the newest game from Desert Ashes developer Luke Bernard is definitely not parody. It's also not very fun, and that's a real problem. This is the story of a young reaper who goes rogue after a young woman from his former life awakens a newfound sense of right and wrong in him. He, along with his lanky traveling companion Spourd, uncover Death's sinister plot and gets fired from his job collecting souls. It's now up to our fearless duo to travel through 8 different levels while battling Death's brainwashed minions to prove once and for all that everybody has at least a little bit of humanity left in them, even a Grim Reaper. Our hero is basically a cross between Death Jr. and Sir Arthur from the Ghosts and Goblins series, only with more of an emphasis on the hacking and slashing. Now don't let the platforming elements fool you, because this is primarily an old school beat 'em up. It's the kind of game where you tap out multi-hit combos, smack enemies right up into the air, and dash around to avoid damage. Death Tales is basically a simplified version of Devil May Cry, only without the wide variety of satisfying attacks. It has all the ingredients to be a stylish, side-scrolling brawler full of great action, but the end result is about as tasty as chewing on a rubber boot. The problem starts the moment you realize that every level is going to play out exactly the same way. You'll do a little platforming, and then get stuck in a walled-off section filled with bad guys. Once you clear out that section, you'll move on to the next part of the stage where you will once again get walled off and have to overpower the demonic enemies. This will happen 4, 5, sometimes 6 times before you ultimately complete the level, which will be followed by another stage where the formula starts all over again. No matter if you're in the forest, or the mountains, or even the soulless realm, every single level plays out exactly the same way. And it's not just the stage designs that are repetitive, but also the monsters that you hack and slash. Now, to the developer's credit, the enemy designs are good throughout the game, thanks in large part to Death Tales' unique art design. That said, this is one of those throwback brawlers where they keep throwing the same enemies at you over and over, level after level after level. Sometimes they'll make the enemies bigger, or maybe even change their color to show that they're tougher. But even then, it ultimately feels like you're just slaughtering dozens, if not hundreds, of the same enemies everywhere you go. And you want to know what? That would have been fine if the gameplay was deeper, but Death Tales is no Devil May Cry. That was a game full of new abilities and satisfying combos, neither of which show up in this beat 'em up. We're taught 4 or 5 quick moves at the start, most of which involve tapping the same attack button and holding it down to perform a harder hit. There's no way to chain moves and combos together, so the gameplay feels more like button mashing than precision strikes. There's no learning curve to the combat, just flailing around until our hero is the last ghoul standing. Now, I don't think I can emphasize enough just how boring the gameplay is. Yeah, they teach us how to dodge enemy hits right from the very start, but there's really no reason to listen. Every enemy is full of extra health when they're defeated, so as long as you keep hammering the attack button and killing those bad guys, you're never gonna die. And even when they start piling up those tougher enemies towards the end, all you need to do is mash the button. There's no skill or strategy to it, so every fight plays out exactly the same way. And since you get healing magic at the start of the game that you can use at pretty much any time, you really have to go out of your way to die in battle. As a result, Death Tales is aggressively easy. Okay, so even if you want to take a less button mashy approach, The general design works against you every step of the way. You see it with Reaper's floaty controls, which makes it hard to perform precision strikes, as well as enemies that take way more than a dozen hits to get rid of. It also doesn't help that we aren't given any new moves or abilities throughout the adventure, all but forcing us to rely on the same simple combos we're introduced to at the start. There's really no incentive to play the game any differently, so smashing the attack button is always the most effective plan. Now I gotta say, the repetition and shallow gameplay is especially frustrating because it's easy to see the potential in Death Tales. I like that you can track down, unlock, and even buy new helmets, armor, and weapons. Everything in the game has some sort of secondary advantage, such as making our hero jump higher, defend better, or counterattack. There are even bounty challenges to take on, which will have us hunting down specific types of enemies in order to earn cash rewards. These are nice touches that help to improve the game, but they can't quite overcome the structural problems keeping this game down. And then there's the art design, which is bright, colorful, and definitely eye-catching. It's arguably the game's most confident attribute, and it helps to make Death Tales stand out. Unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of this style of graphics. I mean, it definitely looks like the kind of thing that I would fall in love with. But there's just something about the design that doesn't work for me. That said, I'm okay with that, because I like that the game has a specific look, even if it's not my thing. I would much rather see a game try for a unique look and fail than play it safe and look like everything else on the market. And that brings me to my final point about Death Tales. According to the developer, the PS Vita version of the game will only be available as a limited edition physical release. That means there won't be a digital version of the game to download, forcing Vita owners to either snatch up one of the few copies right when they go on sale, or pay what I'm sure will be a comically inflated price over on eBay. If you're one of those people debating spending hundreds of dollars on a rare physical version, then I'm here to give you this advice. Don't do it. Don't be tricked into a cynical attempt by a developer to turn this game into a heavily sought-after cult classic. Spend your money elsewhere, because even at the far more reasonable $10 asking price, Death Tales remains a disappointing action game that fails as both a 2D platformer and an old-school brawler. Don't be fooled by the stylish art design and compelling hero, because Death Tales is a disappointing exercise in repetition. From the levels, to the enemies, to the barebone combos, this game is a black hole of monotony and despair. This is the kind of brawler where every battle can be solved by mashing the attack button. With no need for strategy or skill, this 5-hour adventure is boring from beginning to end. The art direction may be strong, and the loot system is at least somewhat interesting, but too much of this game is spent tapping the same button until all the enemies are dead. Man, beat 'em up fans deserve something a whole lot better than Death Tales. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite beat 'em up? I'll go ahead and let you decide how broad that category is, just as long as I get to see your picks in the comments below. Alright, in other news, this is gonna be a week packed with reviews, including When the Past Was Around and Street Racer Underground. Oh, and before I forget, I'm getting ready to announce 2 new shows that'll make all of the Electronic Gaming Monthly fans happy. Ugh, believe me, we're gonna end 2020 with a bang! If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,